It is surprising how many practices underestimate the labor costs, the service, all the costs, the overhead that goes into running things.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Business of Aesthetics annual expert panel webinar on scaling and profitable growth in aesthetic practices. Thank you for joining us and our panel of renowned industry leaders as they share actionable strategies, best practices, and valuable insights to tackle the unique leadership challenges faced by aesthetic professionals today. We also have a very interesting gift for you that I will have more details closer to the end of the webinar. A little hint, it's from Narain Aroja, who is the founder of the Business of Aesthetics Institute, is part of the special gift. So stay tuned and I have some more details. But welcome to our panelists for this webinar, Dr. Jennifer Walden, Jessica Hunter, and Catherine Maley. It is great to have you ladies with us tonight. Thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you.
So today, with our Business of Aesthetics Leadership Expert panel, as I said, we're going to discuss scaling and profitable growth in aesthetic practices. So this is a live event, so please engage with your peers, ask questions, and we're confident you will leave equipped with actionable strategies to implement immediately. So we're going to encourage you, as on the chat, it's open. You can certainly post a question. I'll make a point of bringing it up to our panelists. If for some reason we can't answer your question in real time tonight, we will make sure that we get the answers from our panelists and get it back to you so nothing hits the floor, nothing falls between the cracks. So feel free to put comments in as you hear things as well, to interact with each other online. We encourage that as well. So before we get started, let me ask you this. Are you finding it tough to scale your aesthetic practice without seeing your profit margins take a hit? You might be pouring money into marketing to grow your client base, but are those efforts actually bringing in the right patients or just costing you more than they're worth? This is a real struggle for many aesthetic practice owners. You want to grow, but if your digital marketing isn't optimized, you're likely spending too much to attract low-quality leads that just simply don't convert, leaving you with a stagnant growth and shrinking profits. Well, here's the good news. There's a way to fix this. With a smart, data-driven digital marketing strategy, think precision targeting, retargeting campaigns, and conversion-optimized funnels. You can attract high-intent patients, lower your acquisition costs, and scale your practice profitably, all while keeping your margins intact. Now, here's the best part. If you stay with us till the end, because we've got something exciting for you to start, I've already given you a little hint on that, something that could transform how you grow your practice and make scaling just a whole lot easier and a whole lot more profitable. But we'll have more details on that. But before we jump into the topic for today, let me introduce myself and our expert panel. And I'll go ahead and lead off with myself. My name is Michael Walker. As a leadership coach, professional mediator, facilitator, I'm passionate about helping set leaders and their teams up for success that matters. With a focus on communication, conflict, and change, my team and I at Capstone Coaching help unlock and engage the full potential of an organization and its people. Our first panelist up is Dr. Jennifer Walden. Dr. Walden is a board-certified plastic surgeon, innovator, and thought leader in the field of aesthetics. She is fellowship trained in aesthetic plastic surgery at the Manhattan Eye, Ear, and Throat Hospital, where she previously served as its program director. Dr. Walden notably was the first female president of the American Society of Aesthetic Plastic Surgery in the organization's 56-year history and has consistently ranked one of Newsweek's top facelift surgeons each year. Congratulations, Dr. Walden. That's awesome. Dr. Walden practices in her hometown of Austin, where she owns and operates her own accredited office surgical center and is the medical director over 2 medical spas. Dr. Walden has a special interest in facial aesthetic surgery, minimally invasive aesthetics, sexual wellness, and medical entrepreneurship, and she lectures internationally on these topics. Our second panelist up for tonight is Jessica Hunter. Jessica is a business management consultant with over 8 years specializing in the medical aesthetic field. Her vast industry experience combined with her financial expertise has allowed her to partner consulting and teaching over 75 plus medical aesthetic clinics across Canada and the United States, increasing profits, improving efficiencies, and establishing standard operational processes. Jessica's energy, enthusiasm, and authoritative personality is not easily forgotten, as her belief is that no advice, recommendations, or suggestions can be given without a deep understanding of someone's business, including their financial health and current situation. Jessica holds a bachelor's degree in kinesiology and a master's in business administration. And our third panelist up for tonight is Catherine Maley. Catherine, who holds an MBA, is a leading consultant in cosmetic practice growth, business, and marketing with over 2 decades of experience. She's the author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, and hosts the Beauty and the Biz. I love that name, Catherine. That is awesome. The Beauty and the Biz podcast. She is a sought-after speaker and contributor to top medical publications, and she has been featured in the New York Times, ABC News, and Newsweek. Catherine and her team help aesthetic practices boost revenue through patient attraction, conversion, and retention strategies. It is great to have all three of you with us, and you'll see now on your screen the main points for today's discussion that I'm confident will help deliver an amazing and insightful webinar. As we also have some great questions lined up for the panel that have come from registrants, and I'm looking forward to their insight, best practices, and their passion. And as I said, please make a point of, if you've got a question, please share it in the chat and let us know, and I will integrate it into tonight's session, or comments of what you're hearing. And I know our panelists as well will add comments if they see something there as we're going along through the night too. So I've stopped sharing my screen, and we're going to go ahead and jump into the questions. And I'm going to lead off with a question for Jessica Hunter. Jessica, I love this. You can't make a question can't be much more right at you than this one. What is the best way to measure your business performance?
Started off just like that, eh?
Yeah, just let's go right for it.
Listen, this is a great question. And I think, the first thing I would actually ask any of my clients if they were asking me how to measure for business performance would be, well, what is the goal? What is the long-term vision? I mean, there's lots of ways to measure our business in terms of understanding our KPIs, our key performance indicators, but we don't actually have any goals, or we don't know what we're trying to achieve. It's really a question that doesn't make any sense. So that's the very first thing. Are we looking to grow and scale, move into multiple locations? Are we looking to maybe sell in 12, 24, 36 months down the road? I mean, there's a lot of options now in our industry as time has gone on. So there's a lot of different kind of avenues that we can go to. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing that I say to all my clients is, like, again, you have to start with the basics. So knowing exactly where your revenue is coming from month over month, and having that understanding of literally the percentage of the revenue for each service that you provide would be a very good baseline of understanding. That sounds really basic, but it's definitely something that I think a lot of my clients I start with have no real understanding of where their revenue is generated from. And then the second piece to that I think is just a really great foundation is to understand how profitable your services are. And this is a lot more detail orientated than I think most of our, owners and entrepreneurs really think about. So when we think about how profitable our services are, it's obviously, of course, what our consumables are, what we're paying our staff for the amount of time that treatment takes, what our overhead costs are, any devices that we might have that have a warranty or a lease component to it. There's so many other multiple things that you have to kind of consider when you're considering, service to service, apples to apples in terms of that time. So those are the two things that we start with before anything is really taking a look at those services, where the revenue is coming from, and then what is essentially our most profitable services that we currently offer.
Thank you, Jessica. And I think that you immediately bring up a point that, I mean, knowing your numbers and actually engaging your numbers is two different things. The idea of just knowing the information, but are you able to use it? Is it really a dashboard of information that allows you to track it daily, to track it with whatever the cycles are you need to track business, and to fully allocate expenses over the appropriate periods of time, so that we're looking at real costs for real services in real time with all the load factors that go into that. And I love that it's simple, but from what I've heard, there's a lot of folks don't do that. And again, it's also about having, we're going to talk a lot about right in front of you tonight. You have three experts specifically in the aesthetics industry that you're going to be able to reach out to as we talk about as we talk through the night and be able to ask questions directly to them. And I see here, there's a question that just came up here, and I'll throw it up to you, Jessica. It's from Brian Bednar. Thank you for your question, Brian. Should you charge your providers for the back end cost of supplies?
Yes, I think he's referring to like the back bar in terms of our consumable products, usually associated probably with our injectables, our neurotoxin, or our fillers. And I don't know what he means by charging our providers. There are obviously multiple different ways of compensation plans that you could create, but I would never suggest that. I would never suggest as an owner that you would pass it on to your provider. Now, how you compensate your provider is a whole nother topic, of course. And should you be encompassing exactly what your consumable costs are for those services with your compensation? Absolutely, 100%. But I don't create compensation plans where we actually embed the cost of goods into that, if that makes sense. It's something we're aware of and we understand, and it absolutely affects our margins of what we pay our staff, our providers that are providing the service, but it's not something that we push on to them. Take it out of their commission. I can see his question.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't go over well. So I wouldn't do that. I do what she says, and you have to do the math. You have to know what they're doing. And if they want to buy a very expensive exosome cream and it doesn't fit into your budget, you're the one to put structure around it and say, no, we're going to just use Elta right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So
excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. That's awesome. Catherine, I've got the question for you. And again, in the financial realm, once financing is secured, budgeting for sustainable growth is obviously key. What financial mistakes do you see aesthetic practice making when they're scaling, and some ideas and thoughts on how they can avoid them?
Hello there. Quick pause to ask you if you have gaps in your practice draining your time, profits, and peace of mind. If so, I can help you streamline, grow, and take the guesswork out of your practice. Book your practice growth strategy review at catherinemaley.com, and let's turn those gaps into growth. Now, back to the podcast. The big one would be overextending yourself, buying too much before you know how you're going to recoup those expenses. I watched so many practices over leveraged by just leasing way too much equipment before really thinking it through, especially if they've gone to a conference and they got very excited about a certain machine that does one little thing, and that's costing them 200 grand. And nobody told them how they're going to find those patients for that. So I always think, just be strategic about this. First, look at the pain points of a cosmetic patient. Don't go after the 10% problem. Go after the 90% women. Like, for example, cellulite. All women have cellulite, or 96%. That would make more sense. Or the one I like a lot is sun damage. Everybody's got sun damage. So why not, if you can only pick one solution, pick one, have a marketing plan, pay it off, and then you buy another machine to that marketplace. So if you had some sun damage, what else? What other problem would somebody like with sun damage have? Because we've already talked about profit margin. It is surprising how many practices underestimate the labor costs, the service, all the costs, the overhead that goes into running things. And it's too easy to say, 10% is marketing, 20% is staff labor costs. You are just guessing, usually. You really want to start slow. Don't overhire, don't overbuy, and keep your costs low. And just for peace of mind, keep a stash, keep a 6-month stash of overhead, because in today's world, there's just too much peaks and valleys going on. I mean, nobody would have foreseen COVID or 2001 or all the things that are going to happen. You'll sleep a lot better having that cushion to protect you when things do go sideways.
Thank you, Catherine. Great advice. And I think that it's a whole lot easier to add something on than it is to take it away. And I think that it's just that, and being realistic about what are the expectations. I don't think being a generalist is not really a good choice these days. I think being very targeted and having specific things that you can do really well that have the largest market share is obviously, and you can find your unique selling position. And I love the way you're putting that. Thank you for that. Dr. Walden, you've successfully expanded your practice into multiple locations, as we heard in your bio. From a real world perspective, what were the biggest financial lessons you learned while scaling? Kind
Um,
of builds on what Catherine was just sharing
yeah,
nicely.
it does. It does. It builds on it. And she kind of took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say, really, you have to start small and think small and just staff exactly what you need. And you don't staff for the future. You staff for what's happening right now. And that's kind of the evolution I went through in Austin, Texas. Was I started small with just a surgical center, and then I hired someone who knew how to build a med spa, who helped me to build my 2 med spas in Austin, Texas. And that was a process over a period of like 5 years that we did that. And then I did have a location in New York. I have since, I've gone through everything, so could answer any of these questions, but I've since groomed those non-surgical parts of my practice to be sold. So my New York spa was sold to Skin Spirit, and here in Austin, my spas I partner with Formula Wellness, just as a measure of disclosure. But I would say just starting small, hiring only when you need it. Devices are a really bad way to get into trouble, like she said, with leases and loans and that sort of thing. So if you need a new device, it needs to have more than multimodality. I would say like Empower RF or Cyton Jewel. Those have different. They have one device, but you can treat several different things, with skin or sun damage with it. So you can sell different services with that one device rather than going to a meeting and buying 5 devices. And then I just think we live in a really expensive, costly world. So I wouldn't ever advise like go out and start with 3 locations, like go dig dirt in 3 different locations. I would just start very small. Don't overhire. Give you and in lieu of staff compensation, make it good. Make it good. Give them rewards and those benefits, that sort of thing, tiered PTO. So they want to stay with you, because the longer they stay with you, the more they'll know you and do well for your practice and be loyal. So those would be like my initial thoughts on location. And as a physical thing, location, if you have a med spa, a storefront is best where it can be seen from the street. That's all.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm kind of hearing a bit of a theme here about being strategic, maximum utilization, and living within your means, whether it's dirt on the shovel or money in the bank. I
Yeah,
think,
it's so much harder to make it than it is to spend it. That's just a lesson I've learned too. It's so much harder to make that money because it's very easy to overspend, very easy to get on that slippery slope in the medical spa industry, especially because there's so much overhead and so many products and devices and services.
yeah, absolutely. And it just keeps moving and evolving. So yes, thank you, Dr. Walden. So Jess, I'm going to circle back to you. So beyond patient volume, what are some creative ways aesthetic practices can generate additional revenue streams to stay financially stable and grow their practice?
So I think the answer that everybody's going to talk about here is obviously creating reoccurring revenue. And there's a variety of ways to do that. I think what I'll just touch on a little bit before I talk about reoccurring revenue, which I think we all know what that looks like, is I would really like to encourage our providers, our clinic owners, to kind of get out of transactional services. So when I say transactional services, it's really like, taking care of that patient that comes in that wants 25 or 30 units of Botox. That really, I think, is one of the biggest issues that we have right now in our industry is too much transactional. If we can really understand what our patients' actual concerns are and needs are and create solutions and be able to actually educate them on our solutions that we offer, I think that opens up a door of possibilities of having that patient actually spend more money when they're coming to see us, and in turn, actually generating more revenue per hour and more consistent revenue. So that's the first thing I'm just going to kind of highlight on. But the second thing when we talk about recurring revenue, of course, is some of the things that we hear all about in our industry, which is membership platforms and other additional combination treatments where we are having someone kind of repeat visit and have that opportunity to repeat visit us. Those are absolutely phenomenal ways to do that. And we do that through really good consultation, really good understanding of what our client needs, and then providing those solutions. So I think those are, 2 things I just wanted to touch on. I think everyone's been kind of heard to death about membership, so I won't go into that too much. But like I said, I think kind of moving away from transactional services and kind of being transactional in the nature that we do would be something that I would definitely like to see more of for sure.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. What I hear there is kind of the idea of really establishing a unique selling position. That it's that idea of I call it commodity pricing versus relationship capital. Commodity pricing is about, I need to buy this and I want those units, and it really becomes about a price war, and you're really competing on price in the market. But relationship capital is about investing in your customer in a way that they are unexpectedly delighted and can't wait to come back and tell all their friends and buy more stuff.
Yeah, and I truly believe our clients are, to be honest, they're more sophisticated now than they've ever been. And I think the expectations are high. And I think those that are coming in to look for those transactional services are a dime a dozen. And those aren't necessarily the patients that we're really needing to go after now, if we really want to be extremely profitable and successful. So I think that's the sort of distinction between the clinics that we see now are those that are still doing transactional services and those that are really providing a great solution to problems.
That's great. Thank you, Jessica. Catherine, next question is for you. Pricing strategy directly affects profitability, as we know. How can practice owners structure their service pricing to maximize revenue while maintaining a premium brand image, or in other words, the brand messaging that they've captured that they're trying to carry into the marketplace?
They have to decide who they are and who they want to cater to. So if you want to go after the higher end patient who cares about service and results, you focus on that. You focus on killer results with social proof. You're showing before and
Mm.
after photos, patient testimonials. You really focus on the relational part of this business, not the transactional. The transactional will keep pulling you down to discounts and grabbing anybody in off the street who's willing to give you money. And that's not how we're going to do this in the long run. Quite frankly, those kind of transactional med spas especially go out of business quickly. You have to change your mindset on this. If you want to sell value, you have to prove the patient experience is much better than anywhere else, and the social proof. You can prove that you are better, and you raise your prices. By the way, I do have a thought on that. This thing about memberships, I just watch spas do it, and they get it so gosh darn complicated. And you can't get anybody to join or stay joined for more than several months because it's too complicated. The staff doesn't understand it, the patients don't understand it, and it's hard to sell. So here's my thought. When you're being relational, you're catering to a patient who has a lot of pain points. I would go up the food chain a bit, somebody who is least affected by the economy and last affected by the economy. And you start that relationship with a skin analysis, with computer imaging, with an annual plan. And you map out, this is just like you do at the gym. You do the same thing for your face and body. This is what we should do all year. Now, we don't do lasers in the summer. We do lasers in the winter. And then we do injectables in the summer. And we do microneedling all year. You map that out. It has a nice big total at the end, but then you add and it's a membership discount because they're going to pay monthly. Do you see the difference? They're going to pay, and they've already agreed to the big amount, but they're just going to pay monthly. But they have a plan, and you're not waiting for them to call every month to take care of or to take advantage of the membership. Just saying, I think that's a good idea. And another thing is all about psychology and pricing. 10% of cosmetic patients are going for cheap. We don't need them. It's not how you're going to build this thing. There's another 20% who will buy the high end. They want the best. They want the services and the no waiting and being catered to. That's the 20%, and we make them our VIP, and we charge accordingly. And then there's the 70% in the middle. But you really want to decide, who are you trying to cater to here? Because you can't be everything to everybody. Another one that I like a lot is, instead of discounting, we offer packages, but as a nuance, the packages are customized. So we have packages based on pain points, body parts, themes, let's say holidays, monthly themes, age groups. That way, somebody can see themselves in one of those packages. Nobody wants to just have what everyone else has. We all want it to be catering to our needs, our wants. And that's how we are. We're patients with credit cards, and we want what we want. So I think you can do an awful lot nowadays to bump up your average order size by being more strategic and deciding who you want to cater to in the industry.
Thank you, Catherine. Really like that. I think, I think you're the other. Speaking of you made a comment, kind of going up the food chain to the higher disposable income group, and then specifically targeting groups. What's really interesting in today's marketing strategies, like you can specifically go after those groups. A lot of companies aren't doing that. They're just kind of doing a broad, here kind of just trying to get my SEO out there, but you can actually be very specific and targeted, and it's fascinating what you can do. It amazes me Google does everything it can with about 6,000 changes a year to try and prevent you from figuring that out. But it is absolutely, I see a comment there, Tanya, it is being recorded and this will be released, so you will be able to watch it again. So just maybe as opposed to taking comprehensive notes, catch a couple of sound bites that you like and specifically who said them so you can circle back with them as well. But that idea of just really, again, you not being a spec, what do I want to do? Where do I want to target? How do I want to target that? Thank you. Dr. Walden, you're up next. I have to say, of course, whenever I do a webinar, I get to know you guys. I guess they would say I'm creeping you, because I go onto your websites and stuff and have a look, and I just love seeing what's going on. And Dr. Walden, we talk about social proof and patient experience. Your website's a home run on that. It is really well done. And the question I have for you is, investing in advanced technology and treatments is obviously very costly, but it's obviously necessary to scale. How should practices determine which new technologies are worth the investment? You sort of talked a bit about that, but can we dig a little deeper into that?
Yes. First of all, you have to, the very basic foundation is what is your mission and what is your goal, like we heard. And once you have that, you can hire staff, and you're going to have someone. If you're not going to run that device, I'm a plastic surgeon, so I'm going to be in the OR. I'm going to have a delegate or an extension of my license. Then you have to have someone that knows how to manage the device, first of all, because buying a device and then nobody is certified or trained to use it is a waste of money. And so I would say, with that in mind, then you go and you want to buy a device. The things I would do, the checklist I have is, one, they need to come to my office and I need to try a treatment and a demo. You've probably seen on my social media, I will try it. If they say, no, we won't treat you, you just have to buy it, then that's a red flag and you don't buy it. You want to try it out, and maybe they'll let you even demo it for 3 or 4 weeks. I usually will look at the white papers, meaning the scientific data, what they've published, and you want to find evidence-based medicine that these treatments work and that the results work. So you look at the clinical trials, if it went through FDA 510 clearance, and you want to talk to other. I'm a physician, so I'm going to want to talk to another physician. If you're a nurse practitioner, owner of a spa, you may want to talk to your peer, a nurse practitioner. But I'm going to want to definitely talk to another MD, probably a surgeon owner, about that device, and that's what has been helpful to me. I certainly don't need it. I certainly could have been like less 3 or 4 devices. Let me just tell you. But what I'm saying, I can say that. But what I'm saying is I have trusted advisors like Barry DiBernardo, Jason Posner, that I go to and I say, is this worth it? How fast did you pay it off? And they can give you those logistics. And so I'm a resource for that now because you're on this webinar, but I can do that and mentor other people to buying devices. And so asking for references and getting the recommendations of other doctors really has helped me. And that's really the proof is in the pudding, is like, did this pay itself off? And how long did it take? Shouldn't really take more than a year to pay it off. Most people try to get it paid off in 6 months. And these devices are, the companies, you need to get along with their leadership and want to know them, but your rep needs to be likable. Like, I won't buy it if I don't like the rep and I can't communicate with the rep. I'm not going to buy the device because I don't want to deal with that with training. So they have to have a training module, a marketing module that's easily accessible. And the reps, you need to like the representatives and an ethical culture. And another thing is price points are wildly ridiculous right this moment in time for these machines. And so I don't think you need to buy anything that's $200,000. I'm sorry, to some of the companies out there that's where their price point is like 150 to 200K. A Softwave, I'm a consultant for Softwave, but they're a wonderful company and that it works. And it's like 60 to 80K. So there are device companies that are ethically pricing and some that you feel are kind of, when it feels like a gouge, it's probably going to be a gouge.
Thank you, Dr. Walden. I think that again, what were the words I mentioned before? Being strategic, maximum utilization, and living within your means, budgeting within your means.
Mhm.
And from an expert, we maybe have a couple of too many machines.
Yeah.
Thank you for being
I
vulnerable.
I love that you just
I'll
said
admit
that.
to that. I definitely admit, like, where I've looked around and thought, "Now, I didn't need that one." But
Yeah.
anyway, here we are. Yeah.
But of course, I mean, everybody needs a Lamborghini, so that's just a given,
Mhm.
right? That's no point in even discussing that.
And they evolve, like, they come in and out, like, you'll get, cool sculpting, we've come so far that I mean, no offense to Allergan, but I wouldn't go out and buy a cool sculpting machine today. That's not it. We've evolved from cryolipolysis. So
Right.
anyway, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Walden. Jessica, coming back to you with a question, talking about revenue again, and specifically the importance of consistent revenue. As we know, if we have a payroll, consistent revenue is kind of a good thing. If you own a business, that's the most challenging night you ever have when you're wondering if you're going to make payroll. But the consistent revenue is key to financial stability. What strategies do you recommend for practices looking to build predictable recurring income? We're going to, a lot of these questions we're overlapping, but we're really trying to draw out the expertise from each of you in the journey here. So I'll turn
Yeah,
that
I think
question.
we've talked about this one. So maybe I'll add something a little bit different. I think when we're talking about how you can really solidify consistent, revenue,
Yeah.
I think we really need to understand that it's just, patient acquisition is one thing. And I understand that we're very obsessed with patient acquisition in this business. We're very obsessed with what we're doing externally for marketing, all digital strategies, social media, website, et cetera. But I think, one of the main key successes is really understanding how to automate your retention in terms of your, tapping into your current client base. Sometimes I'll start with a client and like there's 10,000 people in their database. And, we're still spending thousands of dollars of patient acquisition. Meanwhile, we haven't even tapped into, well, what are we doing for our retention strategy? And so that should look like twofold. It should be one, it should be automated, and two, it should be personalized and customized. So there is no blast communication to 10,000 people in your database. It is segmented, marketed to what people are interested, and you want to pull that data out. You don't have a software that allows you to do that. That is your first number one investment. And with most of my clients, it is. It's our first investment that we're going to do is we're going to, be able to invest in something that's going to allow us to do marketing segmentation in a way that speaks to our clients' needs and their actual wants. Because sending out an email or an SMS communication to 10,000 people about $10 a unit Botox, is not going to convert and is not going to be meaningful. And so that's one thing I think that, we haven't talked on today. And I think when we're talking about, how do you really consistently generate reoccurring revenue every month and really ensure that it's really, I just think we're totally untapped on our current patient population that we have usually in our database. And we haven't really understood what that looks like, So we have someone who's coming in for injectables, never done any laser treatments, and even done our facial treatments, doesn't buy our retail products. I mean, there's just so many different things. So that would be something that I think would be a really key piece to kind of understand and make sure that we're really, really tapped into.
Thank you, Jessica. And I think that you hit the nail on the head is that again being focused and not just being a generalist and really utilize the tool. I did a webinar the other day and we we're talking about AI and its impact, and we're not going to dig into that's not the focus here tonight. But what I heard was just it has great potential to help us with our marketing. It has great potential to help us with how we build our practices. But at the end of the day, it's also going to require experts like you guys to help support teams that this isn't their field of endeavor. It's the one thing it's not going to slow down in terms of how things evolve, but it does I think the industry does speak to the need to constantly make sure you have. Dr. Walden was talking about that you have somebody in your corner that you can connect with, that you can ask those questions, that you can work with, and I think it's so critical. I see in a lot of businesses that people tend to get a little. This thing is not a Lone Ranger sport. It requires a team and connecting. And I think it's so important to reach out and touch someone, as the saying would go. So thank you, Jessica. Catherine, I got a question for you. And on marketing side of things again. So even with strong marketing, many practices struggle to convert consultations into treatments. What sales strategies work best for increasing case acceptance?
I'll just a note on that. Most practices and spas are so focused on patient acquisition leads but they forget that they need to convert these leads,
Yeah.
because you can get 1,000 leads a week in, and if you're just converting 2% of them, it's a lot of work to sift through all of that. So I spend a lot more time on the conversion side because I can spin that wheel faster and better than I can the lead gen piece. Because as this gets commoditized more and more and more, and everybody offers this, you're going to have to go with personality. People are going to go to people they like. The consumer is going to pick personalities that they like. So I would say spend a lot more time building trust with the consumer. If you have to go out to the whole world, at least do it with videos and authenticity, and build up your social media with reels. And who are you? That's what we're all trying to figure out. Who are you? Am I going to enjoy working with you? Am I going to waste my time there? Do tours of your office, meet the staff reels. This is a day in the life of a plastic surgeon, or a day in the life of a NP or an RN or an esthetician. Do demos online and show how it's not painful, or hopefully, like you're trying to answer the objections consumers have, because we live in this world and we've all had a ton of stuff done. And we know the drill, but a lot of newbies don't. And they would love to know what's involved in this. Does it hurt? How much is it? Is there any scarring? Is there only downtime? So I like to have a video library when they actually book a consult, and hopefully online, because it's for their convenience. I would have a video library that they can go to ahead of time to do some education. You can't convert somebody who is confused, overwhelmed, or scared. So how do you prepare them to say yes at the consult? You prepare them way before they get there, you know? And then I like computer imaging a lot, and skin analysis. I'm very much into that. A lot of the practices feel like that's too salesy. And frankly, in my book, I asked the patients, did you like that or did you want that? Something like 96% wanted that. We want a personalized approach. I want to hear what my skin is doing, not what everybody else's is doing. And then the hardest, I would say, challenge to converting a consult is procrastination. We people will think about this forever and ever, and we will look in the mirror for years before we actually hit the button. We'll even show up for the consult and we still say, I have to go talk to my husband, or I have to think about it. So I would be prepared with urgency, and not discounts, but urgency, as in you get a gift card when you book today at the consultation. But I would tell them that ahead of time in my welcome email, so they are prepared to bring that credit card so they could move forward then. Or things like while supplies last, or the next 10 people to respond. Just get creative with that. But I'll tell you, procrastination is a big one for us. Yeah.
Thank you, Catherine. Those are excellent points. I think something that an interesting statistic that is that 40% of website traffic happens after hours.
Yeah.
So if you don't have something that responds to the sort of things Catherine's talking about, then that opportunity is going to just go to the next website. So it's really important. And then we translate that into people. We always focus on that there's three spaces in an organization: a transactional about what we do and how we do it, and then there's a relational space about who we are and why we matter. And when they're working well together, there's a creative space. But what I see often is we focus way too much on the transactional space, what we do and how we do it, and don't spend enough time really exploring, both with our team and with our patients, who we are and why we matter. And I think that's what I just heard you say, Catherine, is finding a balance in that and being intentional with that. That's a big word. I love that word, intentional, because it forces me to actually have to do something different. So thank you very much, Catherine. So the next question I have up is for Dr. Walden. And so, Dr. Walden, long-term financial success obviously relies on patient retention. How do you ensure your practice keeps patients engaged and loyal over time?
Well, we've talked a little bit. We hit a little bit on this already. So, in my practice, there is a surgical center and a medical spa. So, I just think that exactly what you've heard. Your internal marketing is the most important thing, because your current established patients, it costs the least money to acquire them, right? They already are loyal to you. They've already been to you. They've already paid money to you. Those people are like gold. I mean, to me, that's gold right there. And like she said, you can look and tap into your list and see how many. I mean, however many thousands you have, try to segment them. But I mean, typically I do a little bit of everything we talked about. We have a membership rewards app called Repeat MD where they get points. If they come in, they have to physically be there and scan the QR code while they're there. And then they'll get like $75 off a service or, 10 units of Botox if they're at tier 3. So tiered programs, memberships programs, we have that in 3 different levels. And we've incorporated semaglutide and medical weight loss into the highest level, the premier level, to try to capture more of our wellness patients into the membership program. So it's not just aesthetics. And then just cross-pollination between the two centers has always been a big push of mine. Sometimes girls want to, or men want to come to work 9 to 5, leave, that's it. But like, I just try to instill in them the culture of really working to try to refer to the other center. So med spa refers to surgery, surgery refers to med spa. And those people, the ones that go to both, I have found are the most loyal internal patients because they go to a spattering of different providers. I'm the captain of the ship and I can help lead and guide their overall plan. But that is how we internally market. We do brochures, we do flyers in the office, anything they can see, QR codes, all of that is called internal marketing and constant contact and emails, based on whatever we're doing that month. But that's super important. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Walden. That's I love the just again approaching it from tiers. I used to own a chain of flower shops. Don't ask how I got into that, but we sold a bouquet of flowers when I bought the stores. There's a chain. And they'd sell, I don't know, it's like $39.99 or something, $29.99, something like that. That was the price. I said, well, that's crazy. I said, okay, that's now our entry price. And we have a mid price. And we have this bouquet, the $159.95. Tell her you love her like crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. We moved the average price point 42% in 3 weeks. And that just and in the flower business, that drops right to gross margin.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just a huge, but it's just about creating the messaging differently. And Catherine, you talked about it, going that there's people that want to have that bouquet.
Yes.
There's people that said, what could I used to laugh after the fact when we did it for about 6 months and we'd have people come and say, I love that. They'd love it. The top one, they'd say, but do you have anything better? We do. We have our custom program where the owner actually does I want that.
Yeah.
That was me. So a couple of questions came up. Thank you, Dr. Walden. I want to just, I'm going to come up to you, Jessica, in a minute for the question. Then there's a question online there for you about the magic number. You probably saw it. But Catherine, there's a question there for you. I want to start telling you thank you for your questions. Catherine, do you have a favorite skin analysis device?
Are we allowed to mention them? Yeah.
I've been mentioning stuff all along.
I think so.
Actually,
Well, yeah, I don't. Well, the plane won't crash, so go ahead.
no, I actually don't have one. I just want one that's easy to use and gives you good information, and the staff knows how to use it and promote it. And the patient sees the results. Sees the before and the after, and they just something that's easy.
Visia is easy. Visia, VISA.
Yeah.
You want to look that up, the person asking the question.
If there is a couple, you could type that into the comments. That would be great. But I love that. That was very political the way you answered that, Catherine. Well done.
Well, you're not allowed to say anything at the conferences, so I'm
you really shouldn't. But I'm a little bit of a rebel, so we'll leave it at that. So Jessica, that question: is there a magic number of how much revenue you should have each month before purchasing a device? i.e. payment.
I would say that never happens. It doesn't happen that way. I mean, usually, someone's going to be, offering injectables and they've already bought 3 lasers,
Right.
I would say, definitely when we're doing a startup, there's an absolute budget and there's a startup budget in terms of what the actual startup build out costs are, associated costs, and then what we're going to spend on equipment or devices and that kind of thing. But no, I wouldn't say that there is something like a magical number in terms of, where you're at. I think both the ladies answered that really well, and just talking about, what you want to be sure of before you're purchasing any of these devices. And,
Right.
there is such a wide variety in terms of some that are, 50K to, 300K. So it's not apples to apples. It's a very, very difficult decision. You need to be in a great position and not taking out a loan that is, this crazy interest rate that that they add on, and you're there for 5 years trying to pay it off, which is, the other situation that sometimes we're in. So
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's, again, stay within your budget, honor your budget. Don't let your emotions take you hostage. Get excited, and that it's so easy to do. And a really good salesperson comes in, this is going to change your life. You've never
yeah,
seen sliced bread like this before, and it's just staying practical, staying realistic, and knowing that by doing that, you get to go home at night and feel good about yourself and how you handled yourself and all your other costs and things. So,
yeah.
Jessica, the question for you I have, and we've talked about it a bit, but practices rushing into expansion too quickly, and Dr. Walden was specifically talking, I think, about that. But what are the biggest financial pitfalls to avoid when scaling an aesthetic business?
Oh, well, Dr. Walden probably knows all about this too. But I would say the very first thing is the very simplistic thing is have you been profitable, and have you been profitable consistently for at least 12 months? And that sounds, again, very simplistic. But if you actually aren't running a profitable business, first of all, that there's no way or opportunity that we need to expand. And the second question is, are you actually at capacity, both with the space and your providers and your offerings? And I think a lot of people say, oh yeah, we're solidly booked. You can't get in for 3 months. And I think when you really understand a schedule and you're really looking at the providers and how we're scheduling them out, recovery time and what that looks like. I mean, I've yet to come to hear that, and yet not to be able to provide more capacity into a clinic when we really revise that and take a look at it. Have you opened on an evening? Are you opened at least one weekday or weekend day? At least a morning. Like, there's so many other opportunities to actually expand your capacity if you were truly, truly there. And I think when you're taking on another location, what you have to understand is, yes, there's double overhead. Yes, you're going to have double everything. I mean, essentially. And so, you better be generating double that amount of revenue. What kind of revenue do you need to generate each and every month to be profitable? And that is an exercise that I think is not done enough, where you really need to understand, how are we going to be profitable at a second location after I do a build out that's going to cost me $250, $250,000, right? And I'm going to buy more equipment, and I need to hire more staff, and I need another receptionist, and the list goes on and on. And so it's not that I'm poo-pooing on someone to expand. It's a very meaningful, thoughtful decision that needs to go into it before you can just say, oh, it would be so great to have another location. So I think there's a lot into it. It's more of a complex question, I guess, than just
Yeah. So I just want to add something, and I see this a lot with my clients. And this is a statement I say: a profitable business includes you getting paid.
Well, it's a really
Right?
interesting comment in
Like,
our
that's what
industry.
happens so many times. We think
Well,
we're
yeah,
profitable, but I haven't taken my wages. Well, I'll do it next month.
yeah,
No, it's
yeah.
not a profitable business.
Very easy to do that as a like an
It's an owner provider.
I mean, I've been like I had told y'all, I've been through all the ups and downs, any emotion you can imagine because of COVID and all of that growing, the med spas in my time here in Austin. But like, it's very easy as an owner to be kind of altruistic, and yeah, I just don't need that this month. Like you said, I just don't need that this month. And they got little kids, and I got more than, like, very easy to personally talk yourself into not paying yourself. And that's a big slippery slope. I'd try to avoid that. Make your CPA kick you in the butt, put yourself on, recurring ADP, make someone else run the payroll and not ask you that kind of thing. Have checks and balances, because you're doing a lot of the work, and it's your livelihood.
Yeah, I totally agree. That owner provider situation is a very interesting one. 100%.
I've done that a lot. I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm better. Like, I've learned, like, as I expanded, and then we partnered and I sold. I have learned. You learn that responsibility. Yeah. You learn that gift to yourself too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it comes back that your business is only one dimension of your life. You've got a family, potentially. You've got maybe you're a partner or spouse. You've got yourself, taking care of yourself. You've got community, whatever that is, and you might not think you need it because I'm in a business. But when we look at it more holistically, there's probably a need. But of course, that's the proof in the pudding: is we shut down and focus on one thing, and then all of a sudden we're struggling. Why the kids don't seem to relate to me, and my wife and I are struggling, or I can't keep up with this or that. and it just let things getting out of balance, or actually it's not about out of balance. The priorities are misaligned. But let's go, Catherine. I got a question for you, and we're in the marketing realm. So, well, I've kind of made the case that marketing is always and constantly evolving. I don't think we'd argue that, any one of us. What upcoming marketing trends should practice owners be prepared to invest in for 2025 and beyond? Sounds like Toy Story.
Right. So, if you haven't embraced video, please do, because
Yeah.
video is our future and the future is now. People want to know who you are, the real you. They want to see you cooking in the kitchen or horseback riding, as Dr. Walden would do, or golfing, or whatever you do. They want to see who are you as a person, as a surgeon, as a whatever, and just be as authentic as you can with that. Regarding competition, I really think the only way you're going to compete in today's world, now that AI is on board, is whomever can be more efficient. How much can you do and how productive can you be with the least amount of staff, the least amount of headaches, the least amount of hassle? If you can figure out lead generation and triage automatically, so your staff isn't killing themselves on the price shoppers. Like, you make people go through your AI system and raise their hand because they're interacting with you. And they're saying, no, I'm very serious because I'm playing the game the way you want me to. I think efficiency is going to be the name of the game. And please, please embrace AI. It will take over our lives. And I'm going to get a robot as soon as they're available. I think this is the greatest idea ever, because I can't fight with them. They're going to do everything I want them to do. I love that concept. And so I would just start with a very simple Chat GTP account and play with it. It is shocking how many ideas it will give you. It can be your long lost friend, accountant, business strategist, marketing expert. I don't think it's going to put people like me out of business. It's making me way more creative because it's giving me new ideas, and then I'm feeding off of them. But I still have to be unique of my own. But boy, I think that's going to be a big game changer. So AI, automation, efficiency, and influencers still, I would say go with local influencers. I don't know if the whole world needs to know you if you're in one town. Why not just go with a local influencer? I mean, it depends on how you want to play that game. But I do think you better spend more time on social media. It's going to get harder and harder for you to get found via Google search, to your website. I think you're going to have a way easier time and a bigger reach using your social media. And that's about it. And then just please build your social proof. Just keep showing off why you're so great and why you charge more.
That's great, Catherine. I think, I mean, I would add, I was using the language about being strategic, about maximizing maximum utilization, budgeting, and living within your means. I'd also add common sense, because there's just going to be a lot of stuff, and AI is part of it. I asked it the other day. I said, tell me a story about Michael Walker and Capstone Coaching. Yep. Well, I am a rock star. I'm telling you. You should see what I can do and what I've done. The irony, what was interesting, about 85% of it was spot on. And even in the way I look at things and I view things, of course, it's grabbing that stuff that's out there, and it would be the same for us. But if you ever feel a little down, just go ahead and ask that question at Chat. It's a great place to start with Chat GPT. Ask that question and you will be amazed what comes back. I have a question for you, Dr. Walden, and this is kind of getting us close to our end here, but you've built a strong personal and a business brand, as we shared in your bio, and I know I've seen online. How important is branding for long-term success? And what steps can practice owners take to establish themselves as industry leaders? I like that.
Yeah, I mean, branding is basically, your brand is your personal story. It's a story that's being told over time. And so the way I've seen it is, I have a personal story that kind of meshes with my professional story, and that's that my why. My why is my twin sons. That's why I moved to Austin, Texas 12 years ago. They were 1 year old. I started to be on the cover of magazines because people were interested in the single mother surgeon with twin little baby boys. Well, they're 14 now, but they're still my why. So that's why I own my own practice. That's why I own my own med spas with my own boss. in my mission, you establish your pillars of your mission. I mean, why, what is it? Is it it's like integrity, patient safety, a safe space for women. If 90% of your patients are women like mine, we have a safe space, so that you have your mission and you kind of work upon that and show your story to the world. And the way I did that was, I was like one of the first plastic surgeons that got on Facebook. And my colleagues were saying, like, there's no way in the world plastic surgeons are ever going to be on social media or Facebook. That is so atrocious. And this was way back when, like, it started. But social media has helped me stepstone and tell my personal story and be my brand. I mean, on a granular level, you need to have a brand book and a style guide, the things you follow that makes you look consistent, whether it's font, typography, logo, on your messaging. That needs to be consistent and stylized. But really, this is your story that's being told, and letting people in to see and understand why you're a human, you're not a machine. And it helps. I think it helps to connect before I walk in the room. And my social media helps a lot with that. My website helps a lot with that. But I like it because it really cuts down on consultation time. If I walk in the room, my patients, by the time they're there, they've gone through some screening mechanisms too. But by the time they're there, they feel like they know me, and they may say, like, "Oh my God, you're globetrotting. How's Paris, or how are your boys? I see that one's in track. My grandson runs track too." We've connected already. And so that really helps me a lot to establish a connection before we even meet.
That is, and I can, looking at your platform, Jennifer, you have done that really well. This professional woman with these two boys, and just the way you've done it. So, I mean, that can be done. It's authentic. I think that's the word I'd say. Like,
And if you don't want to use your kids, you don't have to use your kids.
Yeah.
I want people to know there's a disclaimer there. You don't have to do that.
No, absolutely not. Sometimes it's not. So in the veterinary,
it could be your pug, it could be your bulldog, it could be your hubby.
I was just going to say, the veterinarians, they all have their animals at the forefront.
Yeah, I mean, I am obsessed with like 5 dog channels on Instagram. Like, it could be any part of you that lets people see you're a human. Yeah.
I have as a thought, just in the saying that comes to mind as I'm listening to that, kind of wrapping up things. But people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm-hmm.
And that care has to be authentic. It has to be personable. It has to be attractive enough that people want what you have. We talk about building influential leaders, which are leaders who give somebody something they don't even know they need or want. Once they have it, they can't imagine living without it, but then they can't wait to give it away. Mm-hmm. And that's customer referrals. But it's this idea of just that authenticity. Our time is coming to a close. I just realized where we're at. And I'm just going to share my thing. You guys, this has been fun and fast. I can't believe how fast an hour can go. I'm just going to share my screen here. Just give me a second. It should be live. So as I mentioned before, we had promised you a very special gift, very interesting gift, and here it is. And this kind of ties into a lot of what we've been talking about, is specifics around as it relates to one area in terms of marketing, about being targeted, knowing your audience, identifying your SEO, not going after the people you want, not just the whole world, so to speak. And as a token of our appreciation of your time and participation, we want to offer you a free marketing strategy meeting with Lila Stone, who is the Business of Aesthetics. She's with Business of Aesthetics, as well as Marketing Director of Equa Marketing. Lila has established herself as a trusted expert in digital marketing and is passionate about empowering medical professionals with the marketing tools and knowledge to stand out in a competitive market. You can see on the slide in front of you, Lila has considerable specializations. And this gift is from the founder of the Business of Aesthetics, who is Narain Arulraja, who some of you will know. He's also the CEO of Equa Marketing. As I mentioned, they are a digital marketing organization for doctors, their teams, and their practices. Very specific with clients that are very specific to that area. If you go to businessofesthetics.org/MSM/EX panels, you'll be able to book. But you'll also be able to scan the QR code you see on your screen, and you'll see in the chat now, you will see that that link will also be there as well. I really encourage you, if you're not a marketing expert in growth, and if you're looking to be more refined with it, to get a better return, to get better more targeted client that makes sense to where you want to take your practice, I really encourage you to take this opportunity. I always ask 2 questions when I think of something like this. The first question is, what's at risk to book the session? Where's the hook? Well, there is no hook. What the risk is, what is your time? It's your investment of the time, the hour that you're going to invest with Lila. That's really all that's at risk. The second question, which is probably more significant, relevant to being a growing industry and doing well. The second question is, what's at risk if I don't? So I'll leave that for your thoughts. And I've seen great success with this, so I encourage you to sign up for that. But as we do wrap up, I want to shift gears and I want to say thank you. Thank you, first of all, to our expert panel, Dr. Jennifer Walden, Jessica Hunter, and Catherine Maley. So much insight, best practices, and actionable content tonight. It's been awesome. I think if I would say collectively, you guys have kind of made the complex simple, the hidden visible really well, my goodness, and the difficult easy. So secondly, thank you to all our attendees for the privilege of your time and your participation. Without you, we don't grow together. And when we don't grow together, we don't set each other up for success. So a reminder to like, share, and review us on your favorite social media. And you can go ahead and be a part of someone else's success. So until next time, on behalf of our panelists, keep striving for excellence and exceptional patient care. Thank you to all of you. And Mike Walker, till next time.
The fastest way to success is to model other successful surgeons who have what you want, but you can only see their results, not the path they took to get there. So you continue to jump from one thing to another, hoping to find something that will work for you too. But it rarely does. So try this shortcut instead. It's guaranteed to move you forward. I compiled my intellectual property to grow cosmetic revenues, everything I've gleaned over the years, into one playbook of the most successful practices and what they do to win. Go to cosmeticpracticevault.com and let's grow your cosmetic revenues.